campaign. Joining me now, Karine Jean-Pierre, Senior Advisor to MoveOn.org, Tiffany Cross, co-founder and managing editor of The Beat DC, and Democratic California Congressman Jimmy Gomez. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to turn to the Congressman first on this. What do we know about the status of this caravan, and what is the origin of it?
First, the Caravan has been a yearly activity to show the plight of asylum seekers around the globe. And it often starts in Guatemala and Honduras and moves north. But by the time it gets north, it's only a few hundred people, and they seek asylum the proper way through the ports of entry.
Sure.
So right now, they were stuck at the southern border of Mexico, and they are getting processed there, and Mexico is allowing a few of them through. But it's not about the Caravan. Let's focus on what it's about. This is about Donald Trump trying to stoke fears among the American people in order to win the midterms, plain and simple. He did it in 2016. He's doing it in 2018. Because if it wasn't, then why are you bringing it up at a rally? And why are you actually blaming George Soros? Why are you trying to make it seem like the Democrats are doing this? It's because it's not about the Caravan. It's about getting people, his base, to go vote in the November 6th election. That's it.
Let's do a quick Civics 101. You are a member of Congress. Is it legal in any way for a child from Honduras to vote in an American election?
No, it's not.
Is it legal in any way for an adult who's in a caravan fleeing for their lives to come in, and the first thing they do once they are not being threatened by a gang to kill them is to register to vote in an American election?
Well, first, no, it's not. One of the things that we know is that it's already, the Republicans are trying to keep everybody from voting. You look at it, Georgia, look across the country. And it's not that easy to actually register to vote.
They make it real hard for Americans.
It should be a lot easier for Americans, but for immigrants, people are undocumented, don't even have a driver's license, nearly impossible.
Yeah, and so, you know, Tiffany, I feel like in the past, and, you know, Karine and I, we worked on the same campaign once, so we know that there is a panic that sets in. You know, when the first black presidential candidate was running in 2008, we both saw it on the campaign trail. There was a certain amount of backlash and fear of the unknown. But I have to be honest, I've never seen this level of sort of panicky, you know, frantic voter suppression combined with this thing of saying these children who are fleeing for their lives are coming here to register and vote in the midterms. That doesn't even make sense. You follow politics. Have you ever heard of a child fleeing from a Central American country coming here for the express purpose of registering as a Democrat and voting?
I've not heard anything like that. I've heard of children fleeing from police shooting them in the back, but the president doesn't talk about that a lot. I've not heard about immigrants trying to vote, particularly children. I think the president should spend less time trying to vilify immigrants and more time actually studying the law and understanding what a logistical nightmare this would be to even attempt to close 2,000 feet of the border between Mexico and America. 1.7 billion of our goods and services come through that border every single day. Nearly half of our fruits and vegetables come from Mexico. 44%, I think, of our produce comes. It just doesn't make sense. Why is the president bringing this up? To the congressman's point, it's because 75% of Republican voters view immigration as a huge problem. And this is why he's trying to, again, stoke fear and run on this policy. This also comes at a time where the administration is threatening to take DACA to the Supreme Court, where Justice Kavanaugh now gives them a conservative leading court. This also comes at a time where the administration is considering reinstituting the family separation policy, where he's going to give parents this Sophie's choice of stay in this detention center with your children, or we will essentially kidnap your children and place them in homes with other people. So this is somebody who has exhibited his incredible animus towards immigrants and has done that by lying to American people. And the Family Values Party, the quote pro-life party, who cares about children so much, have now bought into this storyline that these children fleeing violence from gangs and their parents' lives being threatened, all of a sudden they are the villains. I don't understand how you resolve this with some of the other rhetoric coming out of their mouth, particularly when they purport to be this Family Values pro-life party. It doesn't make sense.
Can we show that picture of the bridge again, please, from our producers? You can just show it again. And you know, and Karine, we both come from immigrant backgrounds. Our parents are immigrants. There was a time in my lifetime, I'm not that old, when a picture like that would have just elicited nothing but sympathy and empathy among the American people. You see that and you think, oh my God, what must be happening where those people are coming from? How can we open our arms to people like that? That image now is being used to terrify voters whose real concern is that the big corporations who employ them don't care about them, would rather employ robots. Okay, that people, that the corporations getting the big tax cuts are like, thanks for the tax cut, man, giving nothing to my workers. But rather than focus on that, they see those pictures and are being told, fear those brown people. But where have we come to?
I mean, this is Trump's America now. This is what Trump has done. I mean, this is the playbook of Donald Trump from 2016. And he told us back in July when the zero tolerance was put in place and they were separating children from their families. And he thought, oh, this is great. And he told us the closing argument for the midterms will be immigration. We had heard more things were going to come on immigration. So this is how he sees things. And it's that small and shrinking base, but it still exists, that he's trying to stoke fear in, and he's trying to get them to come out. And this is the play that he's doing. But I have to question, though, we saw this happening last year in Virginia, where it was MS-13, where the Republican candidate, and I remember living in Maryland, having to see those ads over and over. It backfired on him. We saw that in PA-18 with the Republican congressional candidate there he started off with tax cuts. Guess what? Tax cuts are unpopular. So what did he do? He really went in on awful, hateful immigration ads. And what happened? We won a seat that we should have no business even being competitive, we being Democrats. So they're doing this, and I think it's going to backfire in some areas, especially in these swing congressional districts that we're all talking about, that Democrats have a real chance of taking back. But this is what he had decided, Donald Trump, months ago, that he was going to end on this hateful immigration rhetoric, and this is what we're seeing.
And you know what? And you're absolutely right. And I think we talk a lot about, Congressman, what Donald Trump is doing, but he is not the author of it. It's not like he's some sort of strategic genius. This has been a playbook that's been in play before. We've been talking about Georgia a lot today. Let's go to Newton Leroy Gingrich of Georgia, who's played this game before. He's been in the game a long time. Here is Gingrich on Wednesday, who's living his best life now with Trump in, on Fox News, saying what he thinks the closing argument of the midterms will be. Take a listen.
I think two words are going to define the 2018 election in the next 3 weeks. One is Kavanaugh, and the other is Caravan.
It's blatantly saying that they're going to tell the base of the Republican Party that we think that your main drivers are to defend somebody accused of sexual assault, and that we think your major, this is what they think of their own base. Why don't Democrats just go to their base and say, you know what, your party leaders think that you're so anti-immigrant and that you're so afraid of brown people that that's all it takes to get you to vote?
And that's what we should do. One of the things that I've always believed is that this president is making this country small, right? This is actually a great country when we live up to our values. When he attacks immigrants, he's attacking our values, he's attacking our history. We got to push back on that and tell the Republican base that immigrants do make this country better. How is it, like myself, in one generation, I can go from a son of immigrants, farm workers who lived in a one-room adobe house to a member of Congress, right? You know, my sister, who's, I'm very proud of my sister. This is actually a personal issue for me. She actually, because of the fear that Donald Trump has put out there, for the first time in her life, she'll be becoming a U.S. citizen on Tuesday because her son was afraid if she went to go visit her 95-year-old grandfather for his birthday, she wouldn't be able to get back in. We are better than this. The Republican Party is better than this. And we need to bring them back into the fold of the American community, because it's not about Democrats, not about Republicans, it's about one America, and we need to bring them back into the fold, because that's what's going to make us better. And this is what their leaders think of them, that they can play them off with lies and misperceptions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's rather insulting. I mean, it is insulting in a way to sort of your ordinary rank and file Republican to say we can just go brown kid, brown kid, and that you're going to respect respond to it. That's what they think of their own voters.
I think the scary part of all of this is that Donald Trump has talked about using active military duty to close the border. Never mind that there's actually precedent that he can't do that you're not supposed to use military to enact domestic policy. But also, this is a president who's never even been to visit the troops.
Yeah.
This is not somebody who engages the military. Exactly. Cadet Bone Stirs, as Senator
Tammy
Duckworth calls him. So the fact that this is when he chooses to tap into the military for something that is illegal, again, this is somebody who doesn't even understand how the law works. He doesn't understand the difference between the legislative and executive and judicial branches. But we shouldn't let that give us all a sigh of relief, because this is somebody who has pushed the legal precedent before and has actually won. The courts just struck down his sanctuary city law in San Francisco, I believe, where he was trying to punish them by withholding funds, and a judge said, no, you can't do that. So again, I wouldn't let the fact that the law stands in his way give us some sort of relief, because this is somebody, I think, who can, again,
who doesn't care about the limit.
And the Washington Post has just, they have a piece out saying that Trump is threatening drastic action on immigration. Not because he thinks it's important for national security. He don't think those little kids coming over that bridge are going to hurt national security. They're children.
Right.
And they're paying their mommies and their abuelas. Their abuelas are not hurting nobody.
Yeah.
He doesn't think that this is actually national. He is literally admitting that he's doing it to help focus Republicans' election message on the economy. He's continued to highlight immigration, confident that his hardline views on enforcement will motivate his base and carry significant crossover appeal, he thinks, to independent and moderate voters, blah, blah, blah. That he actually thinks that the more he hurts people, the more he harms people, that is the motivator to get people to vote. That's the most cynical thing I've ever heard of.
It is really awful, and it is about power. At the end of the day, it's about power. They want to keep control of the Senate, the House, and the presidency. Well, in this time, with the Senate and the House is what they're focused on, and this is the way to do, and they're doing it in fear, using fear to hold on to that power. I said that this is Trump's America. It doesn't have to be Trump's America. I think in 17 days, we can really clap back and say no to all of this. And we do have the power. We just have to exercise it and vote. And we have to make sure we, as Democrats, stay on message and really be clear that, hey, we have to stop this runaway train. We have to make sure we protect health care for people. We have to make sure the economy works for everyone. And that's really what it's all about.
And it's a body that you're in, Congressman. Absolutely. It's the body that you're in that Democrats have the sort of strongest chance of taking back. Can you just in a nutshell, just to close out, what would be different if Democrats controlled the House? What about any of this would change?
First, there would be a real check and balance on this administration. So instead of having hearings like we have with Secretary Nielsen and Border Patrol and ICE behind closed doors, we would do it in broad daylight, so the American people can hear the questions and understand the real motivations behind this administration's policies. That it's never been about keeping the American people safe. It's about their political posture and maintaining power. And that's what we would do. We would push it back. And then we would actually push for making sure DACA recipients are protected, TPS holders are protected, and then push for a comprehensive immigration reform package that lives up to our values.
Yeah, absolutely. Congressman Jimmy Gomez, what committees are you on?
I'm on Oversight, which is going to be fun, and Natural Resources.
If you want to put some power in the hands of this man.
There we go.
That's right.
Oversight's an important committee now. Y'all remember how it's always been when President Obama was in, how they used that committee. Congressman, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate being in your town. And Tiffany and Karine will be back later in the show. Congressman Jimmy Gomez, thank you very much.